Hello and welcome to another episode of Do Not Fade This podcast. My name is Joshua Reimer, joined by none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Jared Block. And Jared, here we are presenting you with the first MLB show of the season. A little bit later than we expected. We had a lot of stuff going on my end, personal side last week that made it so I couldn't podcast. And then you ended up going out of town over the weekend. So we decided to push the podcast back a week, probably for the best, honestly. At the end of the day, a lot of that early season stuff is kind of just predicated off of last year's stats, but we have a full week and a half under our belts of MLB. Jared, how are you doing, and how are you feeling with MLB back in full swing?
Yeah, life is chaos as always over here. You and I both got stuff going on, like we said. Like you mentioned, there's plenty of baseball to go around. We'll be podcasting a ton this season. We're trying to make an extra effort to be as consistent as possible from that end for this show specifically. But yeah, the last 12 days or so, we're almost at 2 full weeks of the regular season, and we're finally starting to get starters make their third appearance. And so when you start to get a better sample size, like we'll mention, we specifically look at 2-week samples for teams against right-handed pitchers. Like, things start to come together a little bit more. So while it's very murky and muddy and sometimes not crystal clear for the first month of the year, we battle through it. And we get to a spot where, on today's card specifically, we're still dealing with a lot of cold weather. We're still dealing with a lot of implied team totals that are in the dumps because of a lot of starters making their third go-around. Like I said, those are the ones and twos in the rotation. So there are, and then we have cores on the slate, right? And which isn't like perfect hitting weather, but it's cores, and we're going to talk about it a lot in the next segment. So with that said, yeah, lots going on. It's a nice Tuesday. It's a great pitcher's day, not as much of a hitter's day.
Yeah, for sure. 8 games in total that I just counted that have temperatures below 50 degrees. So it is a cold weather day. Even those West Coast games are staying under 70 degrees. So yeah, it's going to be fun to talk about overall. Jared, if you're ready, I'm ready. We can start by getting into it. And for those who haven't joined us for the MLB show in the past, we usually cover NBA injuries off rip, but since we're on the MLB side, we cover the weather. So Jared, take it away with any weather notes we need to know.
Yep, weather notes for the games that we haven't gotten to yet, that haven't started playing, 'cause we're already in the cold temps for this afternoon. We do have cold weather at PNC in Pittsburgh. Temps won't get above 40 degrees. Winds are blowing out, but again, you have Skeens and you have Pavetta, so it's more of a pitcher-friendly environment there. We know that Miami's back in the Dome. We know that Tampa's back in the Dome, more importantly. And then from there, Fenway is going to stay under 40 degrees. Winds are ripping out to right, though, which could influence some hitting. We'll see in that environment. Yankee Stadium is also a noteworthy spot that is cold, though I will say, we'll talk about this from an implied team total, so we'll get into it more, but winds are blowing out to, it is left to right a little bit, but it is more so just blowing out to right field in general, which is going to be a bump to hitters in an extreme way. I do still worry about that being a cold environment, but we'll get there when we get there. And then the other only spot that is noteworthy to mention is the Minnesota series with Detroit. Skubal's pitching, so that matters from a noteworthy standpoint. Temps are in the low 40s with winds blowing in, which is going to help starting pitching there as well. So it's essentially, the Midwest states and the East Coast states are getting this cold weather. And from there, we mentioned cores, 63 degrees, winds blowing out to center, right center at 8 to 10 miles an hour is probably the best cores weather we've had so far this year.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely going to be fun to talk about that Coors weather. Like you said, that Yankees weather is certainly interesting. It seems like it gets more left to right as the game goes on. So if that means anything, then there's that. All right. Anything else here? If not, let's go over to top implied team stacks.
Let's move on.
Let's move on. Let's go over to top implied team stacks, top implied team totals. And yeah, just the same thing that we do in NBA, where we talk about the top implied team total teams and discuss whether we like them or not. And it all starts out with the Houston Astros. And in fact, since the Colorado Rockies are third, let's just group them all together here. Coors has this effect on teams, whether you're going to win or you're going to lose, you're going to have a high implied team total. And we saw both teams end up scoring well last night. Colorado really got to it for the first first time in, well, I guess they did on Sunday too. But Rockies look like the offense is humming a little bit. Astros are the Astros and started getting going there. Give me your thoughts overall on both teams here.
Yeah, this game finished with over 15 runs last night, so that's good from a multitude of angles. From there, I think the first thing that you want to point out specifically is that we do have a situation where Houston, in a very strong sample too. I remember talking about this last year with you, and they started out the year not facing a lot of left-handed pitching, but this year they have 178 plate appearances, Josh, which is the highest on the entire league, and they rank first in the league in terms of their WRC plus against this handedness. So we do have, I know under 200 plate appearances in under 2 weeks is still a low sample, but when you talk about Houston and how they profile their hitters, I do think this is as good as it gets in terms of what we're expecting in this spot. I know Kyle Freeland has looked good in his 2 starts so far, but I will say also that this is his first home start of the year. So from there, take it away. Like, did I miss anything? Because I think when it comes to getting hitters right, we can have this conversation. But just for how you evaluate Houston against left-handed pitching, you can extend this back into last year a little bit too.
Yeah, but I don't even think you need to really. Like you said, like this is a pretty relatively good sample size. Usually, I feel like the goal is always to have around 10 to 20 plate appearances against lefties over the past month, and it's 20 to 40 plate appearances against righties over the past 2 weeks. Like those are the sample sizes that I think are somewhat credible when you're looking at these smaller sample sizes of recency. So like Astros have that. You got Jordan and Altuve at the top of the lineup, both with 22 plate appearances. So like that's relatively solid. Yeah, I love what this team brings to the table. I don't think Freeland really has the stuff here. I think that Jordan's been crushing lefties. I mean, he was crushing lefties last year over that limited sample size we got from him at the end of the season. But he's taken it to a whole new level now with some of the numbers that he's put up recently. Right. I also think Freeland's more willing to attack the zone. That's something that I talked about last night with, why is the name of the Colorado pitcher? Feltner. Feltner was a big walk guy to lefties. So, like, I was worried about him walking Jordan a bunch. That's not going to be the case tonight. At least I don't think so. I think Freeland's going to be pretty willing to attack that strike zone, and that gets you really excited about what Jordan could do with the ball here. So really like Jordan and his upside. And yeah, I think down the lineup, I mean, Altuve, Correa, Walker, all these guys look like they're in pretty good spots here.
Yeah, so a couple of names. Obviously, we know, and I think anybody would tell you here that Altuve and Alvarez are going to be one of the more mentionable pairs on the slate. From there, though, like we are still in this DFS conversation where we can grade top 4, top 5. I think in player props, you can extend this to a top 4, top 5 situation as well. I know that these two guys aren't necessarily crushing left-handed pitching to start the year, but you could argue that right behind Jordan, like Christian Walker and Cam Smith both have turned it into that next gear that we've been wanting to see. Walker with a really, really poor Astros debut year. Like the entire year last year was pretty poor outside of him, I believe, rallying late. But we've really seen him come out the gate strong this season, and I think that has a lot to do with Jordan's health in general. There's just so much extra security up and down this lineup. And so you get guys like Walker and Cam Smith behind Jordan that can punish in these situations. So I do think that both of them should qualify, and they'll make the hottest hitters list. At least Walker will behind Jordan Alvarez. Any additional thoughts regarding these guys? I'd be willing to say, that I think I prefer Walker and Cam over like a Correa, potentially even a Jeremy Pena, though he is getting hotter recently. 4 straight games with a hit for Pena.
Yeah, agree there. Agree that, yeah, I agree with you on all fronts there. I really like the Cam Smith play, too. He's getting hot. He had the home run last night. So he's making really good contact with the ball, especially against righties more so than lefties. But the Cam Smith stuff looks really good, too. Like you already mentioned. Rocky side, like I said, let's just group this all together since we're going to be talking about both of these teams anyway. Give me your thoughts on the Rockies as they face off against Burrows.
Yeah, so initially, when you're looking at Colorado, they are a bottom 5 team against right-handed pitching. They have a 77 WRC+. plus. The strikeout rate is 26%, which, if you look at the last 2 weeks against righties, or close to it at least. It's still a 12-day sample. It's 300 plate appearances, striking out 26.4% of the time. That ranks sixth highest. So, like, there are strikeouts in this lineup. Don't get me wrong. We've seen guys like Nola do well in cores from that angle. But I don't know if I'm ready to believe 100% in Mike Burrows until he actually puts things together. He's allowed a ton of hard contact. He's allowed a lot of extra base hits. He's allowed a lot of balls just put in play in general. I understand the strikeout rate against righties still looks good at 28%. Like, still looks really good. Don't get me wrong. There's just a lot of damage that can go around here. So when you're looking at guys on the Rockies that can actually do well in the spot, you're not going to find a lot. But I do think you can believe in the lefties today. I think you can believe in TJ Rumfield, who I notoriously flag planted on Friday, struck out 3 times, and then he went yard like twice over the weekend. So that's how that goes. But TJ Rumfield, definitely a huge power bat for Colorado. Mickey Moniak should be in this lineup too. He should be in the 2-hole. And he has had a good start to the year after being placed on the IL. He's back in full. From there, I think Troy Johnston's another name you could take a flyer on. Outside of that, you're kind of just believing in Hunter Goodman not striking out. What are the guys that have done well in this last 3-day stretch where they've been able to do well offensively besides the names that I said?
Been a lot of TJ. Troy Johnston's been, kind of just all the guys you mentioned, right? TJ's been a guy. Troy Johnston's been that guy. Mickey Moniak did really well on Sunday. So, yeah, we've seen mostly those 3 guys are the guys that have been carrying this team. We've seen a little bit of Tovar as well. You're going to look at the numbers for the Rockies and you're not going to get that excited. But like you said, I don't think Burrows is really that guy. He allowed 8 base runners in his second start. I think he allowed 11 base runners in his first start of the season. So,
yes.
Nothing's really going right for him right now. He's getting the K numbers, but I don't think that matters all that much. I think he gets lit up for a little bit of damage today. I think the Rockies are not getting hot. I'm not going to put a lot of I'm not going to be totally trusting in this offense to really overly perform, but I think these are some good matchup that they're getting over the past 2 days and today as well. So, I like the Rockies. I specifically like TJ Rumfield. I like what I've seen. He's been talking to DJ LeMahieu a lot from what I heard on the Rockies broadcast, which I think is kind of cool. I'm excited about this Rockies team, what they've been able to put up recently, and this Astros pitching has just been really bad too. So this is a good chance to take advantage of it.
Yeah, they also over the weekend had Hunter Brown go to the IL out of nowhere, so they kind of have to have Burrows eat 5 innings, regardless of how good that looks. Right, that's kind of my thought process on that. So they didn't have too much work out of the pen last night, but I still think that you're gonna see Burrows, even if he gets tagged early, you're going to see him probably likely throw 5. And you could see, I'm not going to call it a triple-double because I don't think this equates necessarily, but you could see a half triple-double from him where he gets 5 innings, 6 strikeouts, 5 earned runs, 6 hits. I think that there's certainly a world of possibilities that happens.
For sure. All right, let's move on to our next highest implied team total, who actually is above the Rockies right now, and it is this New York Yankees team as they face off against the Athletics. Yankees on a hot start, 7-2 to start the season so far. Very happy about that. What I'm not happy about is this offense, man. This offense, it's either really good hitters like Bellinger, Rice, Stanton, or really, really bad hitters like the whole bottom of this lineup, and even a little bit of Judge sprinkled in there too. So give me your thoughts on the Yankees as they face off against Savali here.
Yeah, so initially I think we have just in general a really weird sample size for Savali to work off of. He's only had 5 innings of work, and it was against a Braves team that just had not woken up at that time in that first homestand. So that is something we have to take with a grain of salt. I'm still going to talk about the Yankees in a bright light today because I do think that there's, number one, just not a lot of great offenses today, and I think that they deserve to be in that conversation. Number 2, not a lot of great weather for hitting, and I think you got that in this stadium as well. Yankees rank 7th against right-handed pitching this year with a 124 WRC plus, 121. The strikeout rate is pretty high. It's above 25%, but the walk rate does look pretty strong here. It is sitting at 15%, which is going to help them out in this situation. Savali, in his first start, and I guess you can kind of just, this is where the grain of salt stuff comes in. He faced that lefty-heavy Braves team, we knew that Acuna was just not on it at that point of the season. Riley had been all right at that point, but again, there's not too many righties that were doing well against right-handed pitching for the Atlanta Braves to start the year. Where I do think that Savali can struggle is to lefties, especially if that strikeout rate's not going to be as prevalent. And I just think that that lines up pretty well with what you have with this Yankees lineup. Like you said, like the top of the lineup does look pretty strong when you look at the lefties. Rice, Bellinger have been the two hottest bats on this team. You could argue Ben Rice has been one of the hottest hitters in baseball over the last 4 or 5 days in general. And then you do have some Trent Grisham stuff. I do like his lack of strikeout numbers to begin the year, strong walk rate as well. And then it comes to the conversation of Judge, right? Like, what do you do with this? Like, do you trust 2 innings of Aaron Savali? Because I certainly don't. And Judge has struck out over 35% of the time, which is second highest on the team against his handedness over the last 10 days. So, and the walk rate's way down too for Judge against righties, which is kind of weird. I mean, that's probably just a weird sample situation. Yeah, give me your Yankees thoughts, because I think you can say you can say that Rice and Bellinger are your go-to pair here. But what do you do from there?
Yeah, I think it's more so prioritizing the lefties than going to the righties. I'm fine if you want to go to Judge. I don't think it's a necessity today. I don't like the current form that he's been playing in. I think it's good that they're winning without him, though, which is really nice. It's not something you usually see with this Yankees team. Instead, I'll go to 2 other guys. I like what Jazz brings to the table. He has the BVP to back it up against Savali, though it's in a very limited sample size. It is 3 for 5, though, with 2 home runs, which is pretty awesome. And I like the batted ball profile, at least right now, where the ground ball rate's really low for Jazz at 22% against right-handed pitching so far. He's not getting a lot of hard contact, but I think that just comes with not hitting the ball on the ground. So I like that. And then I'll throw Austin Wells in here, too. Austin Wells' hard contact rate to start out the year against righties is at 50%, Jared. Like, I think he's making really good contact and just getting some unlucky outs. I think that can turn around here soon. So I like Wellsy. I like Jazz. I can go behind Grisham as well. But I think your top 2 priorities here are Cody and Ben Rice to kick it all off.
Yeah, on top of that, I think when you're looking at implied totals, we should mention just going back to the other 2 teams from the implied total Coors game. Both bullpens have been taxed a lot over this last 2-week stretch. That does also apply to the A's to a certain degree too. So I think we're looking at, yeah, you can't guarantee a 9th inning like you can for Houston, and you certainly can't guarantee a 9th inning for Colorado, and you can't really do that for the Yankees, but you get 8 strong innings of matchups there.
For sure. All right. Anything else here? Do you want to cover one more team? Do you want to move on to hottest hitters? Where do you want to
go? Is that other team the Braves? Because if it is, then we should probably talk about it.
It is the Braves.
Yeah, we should talk about that spot.
All right, let's talk about it then. We head on to talk about the Braves, who have a 4.6 implied team total today. They are out in Los Angeles facing off against the Angels, and they get to face off against the starter Yusei Kikuchi here today. Give me your thoughts on what the Braves bring to the table.
Yeah, initially, Kikuchi's just looked really rough around the edges, had a rougher start against Houston where he probably should have given up more runs compared to the amount of base runners that he had, and then against the Cubs in really, really, really pitcher-friendly weather, like we're talking 30 degrees, winds blowing in at 20 miles an hour, he allowed 5 runs off 10 base runners. So, if he's going to allow more than 8 base runners, I do think that the Braves are able to get there. Braves are coming out of a series where they played a lot of hot outdoor baseball against Arizona, which has cranked their numbers up in a respective light. But I can say that I'm starting to buy in and turn the corner on this Braves team, at least against lefties. They are not striking out. Their strikeout rate's only 15%, which is a bottom 4 number. WRC plus is barely over 100. It is sitting at 109, so you're going to have to be a little bit more hitter specific. The walk rate's a strong 12%. So as a team that they do profile well against left-handed pitching, and like I said, some of this team's just going to struggle, and you got to kind of just fade that and focus on the key hitters, which is, I'm going to start, and I think that it's a great play. It's Drake Baldwin, who just continues to smash any handedness. He has a 0% strikeout rate against lefties right now, which again is a 10 plate appearance sample size, so let's not overreact there. But the extra base hit stuff's off the charts. I do think this is a great spot for Drake Baldwin. You're not going to hear Acuna much on this, right? We're not going to talk about him that highly right here.
I think I'd rather have the righties than the lefties. I mean, I don't know. It just
agree
depends on
with
how
you.
much.
I
I
agree.
just, yeah, go ahead.
I agree. I just think that if you're looking at what, again, very small sample for Kikuchi because you're usually not going to play many lefties there. He just hasn't been good against lefties. I know the ground ball rate's been good in a little limited sample. I just kind of want to take the best hitter on this team against his handedness right now, and that would be Drake. Um, and just in general, the best hitter on this team. So from there, like, yeah, I think Riley's probably like, if you were to decide between Drake and Riley, you can make a strong conversation that Riley would probably be your preferred guy. You can full stack this team, but do you want Acuna in that full stack?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
that
guess
tells me everything I need to know too.
I have a full trouble of getting behind the stack in general here. So here's a few things, right? One is that like the lefties that we're talking about that have done well are mostly Yordan Alvarez, if I'm not wrong. Because I know he played the Astros. I know he faced off against lefties in the
Yeah,
Cubs game.
he hit a home run against Kikuchi in that game a couple days ago.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure the lefties got some hits off of him, but that's PCA and Michael Busch. Like, those aren't bad lefties by any means. I don't know how much I trust the split stat right now. Like, I know against lefties it looks bad. I think that is like not completely, but almost completely Yordan Alvarez based. Don't get me wrong. I've loved the Drake Baldwin stuff. He's been off to a hot start. I just don't know how much I really want a lefty against Kikuchi, and I really don't want a lefty against his bullpen either. Angels, I know it's early in the season, so it's a little bit early to get the bullpen stuff, but like they've been one of the premier bullpens against left-handed hitters so far this year. They have the guys back there to get the job done. Yeah, I don't know. This Braves team has been incredibly untrustworthy. I've tried to trust them in back-to-back days, or I tried to trust them twice this weekend. Didn't work out in my favor. Tried to trust him a little bit yesterday and didn't work out in my favor. Jose Soriano pitched really well. We'll also say Kikuchi was on the road for both games. He really struggled on the road last year. Had a 5 ERA on the road. Had less than a 3 ERA at home. Braves are just really sucky to target right now. I don't know how to get behind them. So I understand that Kikuchi's been bad. I just don't know if I'm willing to fully buy into it right now.
Yeah, like I said, he's just going to allow a lot of base runners. And so you're just going to have teams capitalize on that. Braves haven't been one of those teams necessarily to fully buy into when it comes to RASP. So with that said, you can kind of you make a valid argument. This is where like the top implied stacks conversation takes a little bit of a middling turn, where you sure it profiles well from a number standpoint, and you're looking at the rest of the teams and you're seeing 15 to 20 teams with an implied total under 4. So when you get to the Braves and you're looking at the spot, it might look a little bit better. But Acuna has been far from trustworthy to start the year. I think that when you're talking about the most, trustable right-handed hitter, you're talking about Mauricio Dubon, who actually would probably do okay in this spot today as one of the better left-handed or better hitters against left-handed pitching. But do you really want to wait till 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. to talk about and watch Mauricio Dubon? So I don't know. I think you got clear stacks that you can target today, and then the rest of the slate is essentially pitching. So Braves, you can try to play them in GPPs. Just be careful on who you go with. And to your point, I mean, the rundown says it too, and you kind of just mentioned it here. On our AL West preview, we were bullish on Angels pitching, and it wasn't just the starters. That take didn't really work out, considering both of those back-end guys are out right now. But we did talk about the upgrades, specifically you did, into the bullpen, and you're going to see them be a better bullpen, which is why we rank them above the A's in general, just because the two bullpens aren't comparable. So when you're making those splitting hair conversations on a slate with no offense on it, you kind of have to consider that.
Last thing that I'll say, and then we can move on from this Braves point. One, I'm hesitating for the lefties, but it's not necessarily the case for the righties. The righties, this bullpen has been a little bit worse overall to righties, though they still haven't been bad by any means, so keep that in mind. Two, I think the thing that really makes me feel better about fading the Baldwin spot and maybe the team as a whole right now is just their ground ball rates against lefties look really poor, and Kikuchi's done a really good job of inducing ground balls in the past, especially against left-handed hitters. We saw that a bunch last year. He was above 50%, which I think was the first time he got above 50%. So yeah, I worry about the Braves overall. Like you said, good GPP team can certainly, maybe Kikuchi's just off to a terrible start of the year and he just looks bad today too. I have a like sneaking suspicion that like those lefty stats are a little bit Jordan inflated
Yeah,
to say something like that.
yeah, I don't have any disagreements on that front. And he didn't face any lefties outside of the Jordan stuff for Houston. In terms of the Chicago start, I watched it because we had the under of what was it, like 6.5 in that game, and it was gone in like 2 innings. He just couldn't. He didn't have any command. They were basically small balling him to death, and the
No.
Cubs are just not a great matchup in that regard. So yeah, we'll see how the Braves do. See if they turn a corner. I liked some of what they did over the weekend, but again, a lot of that was Arizona heat induced, and this is just isn't the same situation.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Let's move along if you're ready to.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go over to hottest batters. We'll talk about some of the hottest hitters in the league. Jared, I'll let you go first. Where do you want to go?
I mean, Jordan is number one here. I mean, you could probably make a couple cases for number one, but double-digit fantasy points in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the past 10 games. Yes, stinker last night happens sometimes. I think that he can redeem himself, especially in this matchup, and he will hit will hit an extra base hit against the bullpen at some point in the series. So I believe in that. From there, like pick your Dodger, right? That's because you had the weekend card. Talk to me about what you liked from the Dodgers.
My God, this team's so good at baseball. Well, it's also just like the Nationals are really bad at baseball too. But man, they've been really fun to watch. Freddie Freeman, I'm glad we got on the train at exactly the right time because for those who don't know, the day that he hit his first home run, which was in the 9th inning, I texted Jared the morning before. I was like, man, Freddie Freeman's hard contact rates are insane right now considering the minimal damage he's been able to put up. And ever since then, he has just been on a roll. Hit a home run last night and just continues to smash the ball. So does everyone else, though, right? Andy Pajes has been absolutely spectacular to start the year. We'll see how long that continues. Teoscar has really been lighting himself on fire recently. Otani's being Otani again. So, yeah, Dodgers overall, just the whole lineup, outside of, maybe Max Muncy, you could put in the hottest hitters conversation.
Yep, another name at the front half of the slate. Lots of really bad hitting weather on the slate, but and in this game kind of too, just because the park's not great, but at least the temps are solid in Tampa indoors. Yandy Diaz has been a hits, runs, RBIs menace. He has cleared in 8 of 9 games. He has a hit in 8 of 9 games as well. Actually, that number is 9 of 10. Excuse me. For both of those stat categories, he's walking, seeing the ball well. He even stole a base in yesterday's game. He's really good. So I do think you can take Yandy, which is not always the case because sometimes his numbers against righties can fluctuate. Always usually pretty good at lefties, but against lefties. But he's been smashing righties. He's got over a 210 WRC plus against the handedness right now.
Yeah, for sure. I'll go over to Ben Rice. You already mentioned him when we talked about the Yankees team, but the hot hitting has certainly been there. He has had 5+ hits, runs, RBIs, Jared, in 4 out of the last 5 games. 5+. That's freaking insane. Not to mention that he's had 2+ in 7 out of the last 8 games as well. Yeah, he's red hot right now. We're seeing that the unluckiness he got last year was truly unlucky, and he's really smashing the ball. So really like the Rice spot for sure. What else you got before we move on?
Yeah, we could name a couple other things, I'm sure, at the back half of the slate. But I do want to touch on a spot that's going to go relatively overlooked, and I don't really know if I fully believe in it or believing that Matthew Liberatore is going to just dominate this year because he's kind of escaped 2 starts already. But the Nationals also deserve recognition, though I know that they ended up blowing a lot of these games over the weekend. But they're starting to click, and maybe it's more so to right-handed pitching, whereas tonight's outcome is a little wishy-washy. But James Wood is getting going. He has had back-to-back games with a home run. C.J. Abrams has been on an absolute tear. He has 15+ fantasy points in 5 straight games, including a lot of stolen bases and walks, and he has a hitting streak of 7 games. From there, like Luis Garcia's had a hot bat. Nasim Nunez continues to produce from fantasy. We've used him a lot in cash games. And then there was one more bat that I was going to mention. Oh, Weimer is still one of the better bats in the league against lefties right now. So you got something going for Washington, even though this spot tonight's a relatively unclear one.
Yeah, the Abrams stuff is insane. He's had 4 home runs in the past 5 games. Like that's utterly wild. Then you go look at some HRR stuff, and you get really excited about what Abrams has been able to put together. I want them to start putting him back in leadoff instead of the 6-hole. All right, anything else that you want to talk about here, Jared? If not, let's move over to round table.
I think we pretty much covered everything. Yeah, let's move on.
For sure, let's move right along over to round table. For those who don't know how it works, Jared and I bring some of our top plays to the table to talk about. Those plays are in different categories. So for NBA, we did statistical categories. Jared and I were going back and forth on like if we wanted to choose certain statistical categories or if we just wanted to make them categories in general. So they're going to be categories in general, and our categories are our favorite gas cans, our favorite ace, and then our favorite hitter overall. And some of these aren't our favorites. Obviously, we save favorites for members, but these are some of the guys we like the most on the slate. We'll kick it off with gas cans. Jared, who do you want to mention for your gas can of the day?
Boy, I think I have to. So there were a few guys who were gas cans on the earlier part of the card that have made me look really bad, especially yesterday too. So take that with a grain of salt. We're still gathering some information as Shane Smith goes. He might actually give up some runs here. We'll see. Who's actually not in the game anymore? It's Sean Newcomb. That's unfortunate. I'm going to try to get this right. I feel really good about this gas can today. I do think that it's kind of hard to call Kyle Freeland a gas can if he hasn't been blown up yet. And I do think that this guy probably will get shelled. He might, if he gets saved, it's probably because of the dome in a hitter's ballpark. Or in a pitcher's ballpark, excuse me. That is Javier Assad today. He is called up from AAA to start this game because we just found out, actually, just a second ago, Underdog just posted this, that Cade Horton is out for the season with season-ending elbow surgery.
That sucks. That sucks.
Very promising year ruined, which is unfortunate. Matthew Boyd also on the IL too, so they have to have Javier Assad come up and pitch. He's made 2 starts in Iowa this year. I know that's a small sample, but he has allowed 7 earned runs, 14 hits, 6 walks in those 2 starts in AAA. So with that said, we already kind of talked about it. Yandy leading the charge there, but it goes further than that. Like Nick Fortes is doing extremely well. Chandler Simpson's doing extremely well recently. Junior Camanero's had a home run in back-to-back games. Aranda's getting there. So you have guys that can get the job done for Tampa today. I think that Javier Assad's the biggest gas can on the slate, and he's not an MLB level arm.
Can definitely get behind that. This is a really hard category today. I don't really love anyone here. I was kind of scrolling through the names and couldn't really find one that I like. I don't feel 100% confident in this one, but I do think that like there has to be some, I don't know if concern's the right word, cautious. Just being cautious about this guy overall. But Nathan Eovaldi has gotten off to a really tough start this season. 11 earned runs over just 8.2 innings so far this year. He's allowed 16 hits in those 8.2 start innings as well. Overall some bad stuff. And you have a Mariners team. I know they have been so bad. I know they performed really poorly in the Angels series. I know they performed somewhat poorly last night as well. I still think they're right. I keep saying I think they're right around the corner from this offense exploding. I think this is another spot where they're right around the corner. Like Cal Raleigh hit the home run last night. You have Dominic Canzone being a really good bat towards the middle of this lineup. Luke Raley has been really good as the leadoff guy ever since Brendan Donovan got hurt. Hopefully Brendan Donovan's back today. We'll see if that ends up happening. I know Josh Naylor's been really, really bad recently, but like the hard contact looks good. I think he just needs the right matchup to get there. There's a lot of encouraging things about this Mariners team that like I'm starting to buy into. So if Eovaldi continues this bad, rough beginning of the season stretch, I think it's something that the Mariners can potentially pounce on and take advantage of. So I'll name Eovaldi as my gas can here. All right, let's go to aces. I am praying that you don't take my guy. Go ahead. Who do you got?
I won't because I know who it is, and he is in a very, very good spot today.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
With that said, there's like 7 guys that I named earlier in the Discord that I really like today. And that's just what you get when you have such bad weather and so many low implied totals and all that stuff with the number ones. So I will just go. I want to make this an open conversation because this didn't work out last night, and I do think that it does have a really good shot of working out tonight. And that is this Jacob Misiorowski spot against Boston. The temps and the weather is still the same. It's still in the 40s. There's going to be some wind blowing out to right, just like last night. And I do think that Brandon Woodruff just couldn't generate the strikeouts on the third strike. It's just something that Boston just kept putting this in play, and it kind of eventually just led to him getting small balled to death. And so, with that said, I do think that Misiorowski has what it takes to shut down a Boston team that's still striking out at the highest clip in the league against righties. I think that's the same. No, sorry. They're third highest at 28.6%, which is less than a percentile above the second place team. So they're still striking out close to 30% over the last 2 weeks. We've seen teams in terms of right-handed pitching doing well in this matchup. And I do think that when you're looking at Misiorowski and what makes him different from others, when you're looking at the profiling spot against this team, is that, like, yes, there are some command issues against lefties. Yes, there are some lefties that certainly can walk in this situation. That is mainly at the top of the lineup, though. And so when you get through Roman Anthony and Jarren Duran, who are both heavy strikeout bats, the bottom of the order seems like something that he can win at. So I know that he might give up an extra base hit or two to a guy like Anthony, maybe Abreu is in that conversation as well. But, man, the collective strikeout rate this season is sitting around 38%, and I just think that when you compare him to Woody, it's not really close. Woodruff did have a really strong strikeout rate against righties. It was sitting around the 32% mark, I believe. It was low 30s. Strikeout stuff against lefties was like more in the 25 to 28% range, which we would consider more above average. Like, these numbers for Miz are just more so elite than above average. And I think that that is the difference between the two. So I know that I had Woodruff as my strikeout ladder last night. I think that this is a perfect example of early in the year. If you're getting discouraged about certain situations, I do think that you can just run this one right back, whereas sometimes you would fade it in this situation. Do you agree with or disagree with my statement?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think that sometimes pitchers don't have their stuff. You and I were kind of discussing it earlier before the show, where it's like, sometimes it's the old adage that we use repeatedly throughout the season is that Mike Trout can have the best matchup in the world and still go 0 for 5. Now, that might date us in terms of how long we've been covering the MLB, that we're discussing Mike Trout in that light, because he's not necessarily in that light anymore. But the point still stands in terms of the fact that, like, the best guys can have the best matchups and still not actually come out on top, just because that's the way that MLB ends up rolling sometimes. You can make that case for any sport, but it feels like that always has more of a chance to come true in MLB. And that's kind of the case for Woodruff. Got small balled a little bit and just wasn't able to recover from it. That's kind of how the cookie crumbles. But I really like Misiorowski's stuff. I think even if you just look past the numbers and look just at eye test-wise, what I've seen from him, I've been uber impressed. I think the stuff looks really good. I think he's just warming up into the season. So I really like the Misiorowski stuff right now, and I think it only gets better from here. And this Red Sox team looks abysmal right now, and vibes in this locker room cannot be at a worse point with everything that they're dealing with. And I think this is just a really good spot for Misiorowski. So, yeah, I can certainly get behind it.
Have you seen his stuff plus in our research model?
No.
To the other aces on this slate?
I will say that this stuff plus stat is definitely dated back to last year. It's not updated.
Okay.
But, yeah, It's insane.
Fair enough. I'm just saying for quality purposes of conversation, last year, Misiorowski had a higher stuff plus than Tarek Skubal on this slate, and he had just as equal of a spot for Crochet as well, who had a similar number.
And his pitching plus was in the 130s, which is like, yeah. I'm pretty sure unheard of almost. That's really, really good. Okay, I'm going over to my pitcher. You know who I'm going to. I've been looking forward to talking about this spot the whole entire slate. It's Cam Schlittler. He has been utterly dominant in his first 2 starts of the season. Been really impressed with the stuff we have seen from him. And I think this is the perfect chance to bring it over to this matchup against the Athletics, an Athletics team that's striking out more than any other team against right-handed pitching. The awesome thing about Schlittler is he's really just hammering the zone. I don't know if you've watched any of these starts, but it's really just been a 3-pitch mix of four-seamer, sinker, and cutter. That's basically all he's throwing right now. He'll throw in a little bit of a slider sometimes, but like it is just a fastball mix. He's going to attack you. He's going to stay in the zone. And that sounds like hell for an Athletics team that's been struggling to hit the ball and been striking out in bunches. So, yeah, I really like this spot for Schlittler. I don't know if I fully agree with people coming out here saying like he's ace level material. I think he's having a really good start to the season, and I'm excited to see what he does for the rest of the season. But he has a hot start. This is a really good matchup. I know that the wind is something that you brought up as a positive. I don't think it's like I think the wind is good, but I think the temperatures baked in doesn't necessarily even it out, but it makes it still a little bit closer to pitcher friendly. I like what the weather brings for Schlittler, and I think he can really dominate here. So yeah, Cam's my ace for the day. Pretty easy for me. Like I said, I've been looking forward to talk about it basically the whole show. All right, top
Can we bring
hitter.
up something quick? Can we bring up
Go
something?
for it. Yeah.
I want to talk about. I just want to talk about Scooball because I don't really have a super hot take on this one. I do think he's in that list of like the 7 guys that I thought were in really good spots today. Minnesota, 4 through 9 is just abysmal against left-handed pitching to start the year. Temps are in like the 30s in Minnesota. Winds are blowing in, so like it's a really, really good spot parameter-wise. And you do have this team striking out at a top 10 clip against lefties. It's 27% right now. They're one of the worst teams in baseball against left-handed pitching. And also Byron Buxton is out for this game, right? He's not playing.
I don't know. Maybe. I haven't seen.
Let me see here. Nope, sorry, he's in. He is starting at DH. So, with that said, I want to talk about this from are we concerned about Scooball strikeout stuff yet? And I think the answer is clearly no. And I want to just say also that the reason that last strikeout spot wasn't that great, number one, it was against an Arizona team that we normally just don't take left-handed pitchers against. And number two, this will even out over time. And on top of that, the Arizona game was like a 90-degree roof open situation where they're not going to do that for probably the majority of the rest of the regular season. So I don't think you should be worried about Scooball. And you probably get a pretty good market number on his strikeouts today.
Yeah, I know in Vegas, I bet it won't be that good, but I agree. I'm not worried about it whatsoever. I'd be curious to hear what the number is. I'm not worried about it at all. I think it'll come around when it comes around. He's that elite level of pitcher where I'm not all that concerned. We'll say the whiff rate doesn't look great, at least right now, but the chase rate looks good.
Is that Arizona, though?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't feel like they're that good of a strikeout team against lefties. I know they're a good hitting team against lefties, but like, is there strikeouts? Are they a low strikeout team against left-handed hitters or left-handed pitching? Excuse me.
They are striking out at 9% this year in 92 plate appearances.
Yeah, so maybe it is. Maybe like you said, maybe it just is Arizona at the end of the day. Expecting batting average is somewhat down for him, which is not great. But yeah, I don't think that this is a worry for Scooball. I think he'll be fine, and I think it'll be only a matter of time before you see him put up double digits at some point this season.
7.5 on underdog is a little bit of a juiced line, and then 8 on Prize Picks even.
Yeah, that's kind of gross, to be honest with you. For him not having the strikeout stuff yet, it feels a little bit gross to bet on, but it is a really good spot against this Minnesota team that relies on walks, and they might not be able to get him against Scooball with him. He hasn't walked a bat yet in 12.2 innings, which is pretty impressive. All right, best hitter. Where do you want to go for this one?
Oh, boy. I didn't come prepared and will have to more. We get into these tangents and I'm not looking forward. So, With that said, I think favorite hitter that I kind of want to stop relying on this the top implied team total stuff. But on this slate, I don't think we have much of a choice. I'm gonna have to just go with Christian Walker here. I know that his numbers against lefties this year haven't been off the charts necessarily, Whereas I think you could point to Altuve and Jordan and a few others in that light. But I just love what he's been able to do, specifically over his last 3 games stretch, where he's had 3 extra base hits, 2 of those being home runs. He's walking as well, which is something he just didn't do well with last year. So I do think that Jordan crushing at a top 5 hitter clip has just resurrected the rest of these. I won't call them like tier 2 hitters. I guess you could probably make that conversation, but that's what we're seeing with Houston here. And backing that up to where we talked about the implied total situation and the parameters structured around Houston, like everything looks elite outside of the fact that Freeland hasn't been shelled yet because he hasn't been at home. So I do think you can believe in a lot of Houston stuff, and I'll be a little extra heavy on Christian Walker tonight.
Yeah, I could certainly get behind Houston. In effort to try to not make this boring and not go with another Houston bat or a Rocky bat, I'm going to be a little bit spicy. Again, these are some of our top plays. These are not the top play, so keep that in mind because just like the gas can conversation, I think I might be stretching a little bit with this one, but we're still going to mention it because I do think the start to the season has been incredibly impressive for Gary Sanchez here. He has been tearing apart left-handed pitching, man, and when he gets in, he has been smacking the ball, and I absolutely love to see it against lefties so far this year. Again, only 8 plate appearances, so very small sample size, but 704 weighted on base average, 1,000 ISO, 355 WRC plus, 66% hard contact. This is a very tough matchup against Crochet, but Crochet has not been perfect this year, and we have seen his struggles. Yeah, I like the Gary Sanchez spot. I think it's a fun flyer to have in there. Again, do I feel incredibly confident in Gary Sanchez? Will he be the flag plant today? No, certainly not. But it is a fun spot for him, and I think the start to the season has been electric.
Yep. I'll throw in a YOLO bat here just to have fun on a Tuesday slate. I think that this guy's got an equally good of a chance to hit a home run compared to Sanchez as well, and we might have to sprinkle that somewhere because I do like what Zach Neto brings to the table here. He has had 2 home runs in the last 3 games, a double in those 3 games as well. The hits, runs, RBI stuff looks really, really good. He's starting to put things together. I do worry a little bit about Mike Trout not making this lineup. That would take away some security. Mike Trout left the game yesterday with a hand getting hit by a ball in the hand. So don't love that and the history he's had with that. But in terms of what Zach Neto brings to the table, he is the team's second best hitter, minus Trout against right-handed pitching over these last 2 weeks. And I don't think he's going to have too many strikeout troubles against Reynaldo Lopez, who just isn't a K guy at this stage of his career. And while this is a small sample, it's 2 starts, he's done really well, Reynaldo has, in terms of like defying the age stuff. He's been really, really, really bad to righties in a really small sample. So we're talking about 3.9 home run per 9. It's only a couple bombs, but you get my point. So he's going to allow a lot of fly balls. I think that Neto would be a guy I'd consider on the late slate for getting different.
For sure. All right. Anything else here, Jared? If not, we'll head over to 2 minds are better than 1.
Nope, we can move on.
All right. For those who don't know how it works, Jared and I go back and forth, each of us selecting 2 player props each. We put those player props into a parlay with our goal of the parlay to be about plus 100 to plus 150 odds. We were able to do that pretty successfully with NBA. I don't know if that'll be the case with MLB. Lines are a little bit different with MLB stuff. So We'll see how we do with taking reduced lines here, but we'll do our best to get our odds around there. Jared, I'll let you go first. Where do you want to go?
Yeah, I think where I'd like to start, I was trying to look at a strikeout spot for, like I said, one of those, like, there's a good 5 to 7 strikeout plays today that I feel really strongly about that are still yet to pitch. And I think that I would like to start, let's see. Can I go here? Sorry to drag this on. Oh, no wonder. I was like, why isn't Drew on this card? He has his wife's having a baby, so Drew Rasmussen is not playing today. So his spot would have been pretty good, but they're throwing a bullpen game now. Yeah, I'm just gonna go back to what I know. Well, this is a really bad take for a first show. so I'm not going to do that. If this was if we were a month in, I would have said like go run CJ Abrams back again, but there's too many question marks there with that spot. So what I'm going to suggest is why don't we just, instead of Scooball not going the full 7.5, why don't we get him for a discounted number?
Yeah, we could definitely do that. What do you want to get him
Six.
at?
Like I know 6 is going to be like minus 400, but I think that qualifies.
We could probably get it for more. I think we get it for probably 5 and feel pretty good about it. 6 plus is minus 587. Let's take it at that.
Yeah, I mean, for this situation where like you're not sure what his swinging strike stuff looks like, I think you can believe in the matchup and get that number instead of relying on a 8 sweat.
Yeah, for sure. I could certainly get behind that. I'm backing the guy that I mentioned as my ace. Going with Cam Schlittler here. 5 plus strikeouts. Definitely juiced, but I like to play quite a bit.
All right. Maybe something that we can buy into a little bit more in a Braves conversation is what Kikuchi does from a command standpoint. He has currently a 11% walk rate against lefties, 10% walk rate against righties, and you got quite a few Braves here that are drawing walks at an above average clip against lefties. They currently sit as a team at 7th highest with a 12% walk rate. So let's get Kikuchi for 2 walks. He's already done it in both starts.
Hold on. I have to see where I can take it. DraftKings changed the way that they do pitcher props now. I don't know if I can get alt lines. We're gonna see. Let me go look.
Well, over 2.5 is still in play too. If that's a market that exists.
I can only the way walks now work is if I want to take over walks allowed, I can only take the baseline. Oh, and it's over 1.5, and it's okay. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. So we'll take over 1.5 walks allowed for Kikuchi. Then I'll go with Ben Rice. Yeah, we'll stick with the same game. We'll go Yankees again. I'll go with Ben Rice for 1 plus hit run RBI. Really like the spot for Rice overall, and think it pairs well with the total matchup overall. So altogether, we have Ben Rice for 1 hit run RBI, Cam Schlittler for 5 plus strikeouts thrown, Yusei Kikuchi over 1.5 walks allowed, and Tariq Screwball for 6 plus strikeouts thrown. Altogether, get you at plus 175, Jared. All right, man, let's get out of here. Give me your final thoughts.
I just counted on the implied team total chart on Fantasy Labs, and there are 20 teams exactly with an implied run total under 4. So it's obviously a pitcher's day. Temperatures and weather is definitely helping that situation. You have your clear hitting spots. It's Coors and it's Yankee Stadium, and that is kind of what that is today. By the way, the Rays team total has jumped pretty significantly from earlier this morning. So they sit at the 5th highest implied total, and it's kind of what we mentioned with the Javier Assad stuff. So I can buy into Tampa too a little bit more. Atlanta, we have our question marks with, and I'm really curious. They did not come up in the conversation outside of hottest hitters, but how does Kevin Gausman pitch against the Dodgers today? Because he has been elite, but he's had 2 pretty soft matchups. So any insight on LA, Toronto? Like they need him to go 6 today because of not only the matchup, but the injuries, because Scherzer just went down too.
Yeah, I have no clue. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Like you said, he's been really elite to start the season, so I have trouble fully buying into this Dodgers team. We saw the Dodgers struggle with, who the hell did they face off against on Sunday? It was a lefty, so it made more sense. I don't remember who exactly it was. It was someone from that Washington team that was a lefty.
Lee or whatever his name is.
Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, my point was we have seen this Dodger team fall somewhat short, but it's when they're facing off more against left-handed pitching because, Ohtani, Tucker, Freeman, all worse against lefties overall, so it makes sense. Gausman's pretty damn good, but he's just been shut down. Like you said, soft matchups are partly the cause of that, but yeah, I wouldn't expect 10 runs again, but since Vegas is clearly thinking the same way, they're not expecting the Dodgers to score a fuck ton of runs like they were last night. I mean, Dodgers were still one of the highest implied teams last night, so now they're down in 6th when it comes to implied team totals. So, yeah, I wouldn't feel confident in Gausman whatsoever, but I'm certainly not getting behind any Dodgers either.
Yeah, it's an elite series. Same thing goes for Yamamoto. Not really in a strikeout matchup. This is a really fun slate. I wish we had more to talk about from a hitter standpoint because it feels like a lot of our top takes are going to be quite popular today, but that's kind of what it is when you get slates like this. So, last thing I'll note: lots of people on Schlittler and Mizurowski today. I understand people got crazy, conspiracies about all this stuff around popular plays. The name of the game and the moral of the story here is that these guys are elite plays today.
Yeah.
We're not going to fade them just because it's a popular take, right?
Yeah.
That's where I come from. That's where I stand by. Can weird things happen at certain times? Sure. Have weird things happened the last 10 days? Absolutely. We just saw that happen last night on a variety of angles. So whenever you see that kind of stuff, like, don't just like run away from it. Like, I think you can embrace it, and this is the perfect time for you to ask us why we think that we agree with why they are elite plays. Sometimes we're going to disagree with these really popular markets, and there will be good reasoning behind that. I can't find a reason to get off of those two spots for pitching today.
Yeah, for sure. Completely agree. As I was telling Jared, because Sale was my flag plant last night, or no, he was my ladder, excuse me. Obviously came up short, but 99 times out of 100, if you told me he came in or he got done with the third inning and had 6 strikeouts, I would have said he hit the full ladder every day of the week and twice on Sunday. I would have been so sure. And yeah, you had a weird thing happen where he just lost control in the fourth, wasn't able to get himself out of a rut, and that was kind of that. And that can happen. Plenty of strange things can happen in baseball. So just keep that in mind. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. We have 162 games over 180 days. So there's a lot of baseball to be had. We're only 10 games in for everyone, around 10 games. So yeah, still a lot more baseball to go. Still a lot more winning to be done. Anything else you got, Jared? If not, let's get out of here.
Just looking ahead, as we should have done beforehand, just to see if we could.
We will have a show tomorrow. It's only like 5 games, but we've been off this show for so long. I figure we'll still take 5 games and talk about it.
Lots of day baseball for those who are Trinity members, and if you aren't, we provide every single game breakdown for every single game, every single day of the year. So we still have a deal. I think I'm gonna tell the team that we're gonna expire this deal on Thursday. So you'll have another show for us to talk about this and get on board. But yeah, try us out. $3.33 your first month for all of our content, not only for MLB, but for NBA stuff. We still have projections and a big board for top plays, and the playoffs are coming up after this week. Anthony's still running esports every single day, and we got a lot of other things in store. So it's a great time to get on board, and I do think that we'll have a fantastic pitching day today.
People don't want to hear it, man, but I've been smacking NBA. I've been kicking ass, and no one cares because we're dealing with MLB right now, and it's been a lot of fun. But when 2-0 with flag plants and ladders, called the Cooper flag spot on Sunday against the Lakers where he had 45. I didn't call him getting 45, but I did have his over as my flag plant. Yeah, I've been smacking NBA around, man. It's been a good time. So I've been enjoying end of season NBA at least a little bit. There have been some infuriating things as well, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, like you said, plenty to try out, plenty of value just for $3.33 for your first month. A pretty awesome deal overall. All right, let's get out of here, man. Any other final thoughts? Oh, housekeeping. I'm getting my rundown games done soon. So if you don't see the rundown out yet, I'm getting to working on it right after we get off the show. So it should be out very, very soon.
Today is a day where you shouldn't bet home runs unless we specifically tell you to. So please don't.
Yeah.
Don't go buck wild on that. Probably a similar trend tomorrow. I think it does start to warm up across the country over the next couple of days. But yeah, right now, I think I wrote up 10 games. I don't think I have 10 home run leans on those 10 games. So it's a pitching day. And we'll see if it's a pitching day tomorrow.
For sure. All right, let's get out of here. Thank y'all for listening. As always, my name is Joshua Reimer, and we will see y'all tomorrow.